Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank each of you. As we enter into this, I want to start out, Mr. Taw, by saying thank you for your work. It was good to visit with the PRC and all the dedicated employees that work there. Mr. Rolando, I want to just say I know I was not on your Christmas card list. I do appreciate the fact that you have been willing to work with me in an open-minded way. That was your commitment to me, my commitment to you, and I want to thank you. Ms. Brennan, thank you so much for being here. Obviously, as we look at this, this is a interesting time, and so for all the postal workers, I just want to say thank you. I've been a secret shopper, because as you know, I'm not shy about my criticism either. And so in Spruce Pine just the other day, I went into a place. Actually, I sent my wife in because now I start to get recognized in some of these places. And the service that Debbie Calloway gave my wife was nothing less than spectacular. And she didn't know who she was, and we went in. And so I went back in to thank her for her service. And that's what we need to do in terms of service standards. As a fiscal conservative, one of the things that you're asking me to do is get rid of a pre-funding requirement that was probably part of a previous deal, and so why should I do that? Make a very short, compelling case on why I should do that.
First, I would say, Congressman Meadows, it's the right thing to do to ensure that our pensions and the retiree health benefits is funded. It was the accelerated pace of that funding that created a large part of the challenge. But now we're beyond that come this fall. The issue now is it's a system that is unaffordable for us. And again, going back to we've paid more than $29 billion into the fund. Our employees should benefit.
All right, so you're saying that you paid $29 billion. We ought to do that. So I'm willing to take the leap. Now, we've heard all kinds of different testimony. That doesn't get us where we need to go, does it?
In and of itself, it's not enough.
It's about $3 billion of a $5 billion deficit. So we need some other areas. We can't make it up in volume because part of what is concerning me is that it indicates that we're just going to raise rates, that this is a revenue problem. And as $69 billion, it's not just a revenue problem, it's a management problem. So how do we take this without raising rates as being the ultimate answer and really fundamentally reform it and make it work? Are you in support of safe and secure delivery through cluster box? Is that something that you would support wholeheartedly?
Depending on the characteristics of the delivery environment, yes, we currently do affect delivery to cluster boxes.
Would you support expanding that in a meaningful way, grandfathering, understand that we may have to grandfather a lot, but what we've been discussing is really looking at safe and secure delivery, which you may get some pushback from Mr. Rolando and some of those on that side. Let's recognize that, but we've all got to come together to figure this out. Are you supportive of that, yes or no?
Yes, and sir, if I may, the comment I made earlier about new delivery and based on the delivery characteristics, what we would not recommend is mandatory conversion of existing door delivery, of which we have over 37.5 million businesses and residents.
Well, so let's say if we grandfather some of those in and we start to work, because I've been working with Mr. Lynch in an area that is very different than mine. If we work through that, you're asking me to go ahead with the pre-funding and jump off the cliff. I'm asking you, are you willing to work with us to make sure that we implement safe and secure delivery in a meaningful way?
Yes, and if I may also comment, management has demonstrated a willingness to address operational efficiencies and to reduce costs, and we'll continue to do that.
Okay, so
I apologize, if I may. Ms. Rectanis mentioned that we don't have any major cost reductions initiatives planned. We do. We have more than $5 billion in cost reductions embedded into our 5-year plan. And we continue to look at opportunities to drive operating efficiencies. That's our responsibility.
But most of the opportunities we've talked about actually have been with increasing services, and so, or trying to increase a portfolio, whether it's banking or anything else, and that just doesn't hunt. Let me, I've only got a few seconds left. So here's my concern. we're talking about all of this and we're missing out on service standards. It's the number one thing that I get calls about. You know, why is my mail not being delivered? Why are we having a problem? And even me, you said, you know, that first-class mail, that is your bread and butter. And this first-class mail actually is all postmarked in December. I got it in April. Now, that is not a funding problem. That is a management problem. And it's not just here. It's not just in my district, because in Peachtree City, we have the same thing where we mailed actually wedding invitations for my son that took 8 weeks to get to another member of Congress. And so what we have to do is put this together and make sure that we have a service standard that doesn't just increase costs, and I'm willing to work in a bipartisan way to do that, but we have to make sure that we do it in a way that serves the best interest of the public. And are you committed to do that?
I am committed, and if you'd give me those envelopes, I will look at that.
I don't want to get somebody fired, but we just need to.
Because, Congressman.
But I'll give them to you. I had about 40 different pieces of mail that came to me that had the same problem. I'll yield back.